Hello, I wanted to tell you about my first and so far only coloring book that I've ever written. So, this is My Day with the Dalai Lama. It was written by me and illustrated by my sister Leighanna. This was written back in 2015 and released in 2016, which is actually 3 years before we had our son, and 3 years before we knew we were going to have a boy and that we were going to name him Dale, actually. So, a couple fun little Easter eggs in this book. Um, we've got a little squirrel that comes up throughout the book. It's fun for kids. We've got a guest appearance by my sister's dog, Sarge, here on the back. And actually, there's this cute picture at the back about her and me. So you can see my sister there with her snake and her lizard, and a little bit about each of us. This actually came out before the Dalai Lama quote book, which did really well and is still one of those books that I'm so glad that is out there. And the idea behind this book, and I'll share a couple things here. So we've got the front. We've got, I just shared this with my son for the first time. He just turned 6 last week, and he just wrote his name in it. So this is going to be his book. And I read it to him for the first time tonight, and I thought it would be nice to read to you so that you get a chance to see what the book is all about. It's a coloring book. It's a book for kids. It's actually a book for adults too. It's got some neat info in it. It's dedicated to His Holiness the Dalai Lama and his devotion to advancing humanity, religious harmony, and a culture of peace and nonviolence around the world. And I wrote a little bit about what this book is and why I wrote it. So it was inspired by the question, if you could live and spend the day with any person in the world, who would it be and what would you do together? And my answer was the Dalai Lama. It's someone I've admired since I was very young, and I thought about all the things that we would love to do together, and before I knew it, there was a story waiting to be written. The Dalai Lama is an amazing man, and it was very important that we took great care in talking about him and imagining how he might respond to questions in the book. And while we don't want to fill this beautiful and simple coloring book with our deeply researched answers, we did want to provide the information to you. So you can find that research and references behind all the answers at my website at travishellstrom.com/mydaywith. And thank you for exploring this book and making it a part of your life. So you'll see that the book is actually an interaction between the Dalai Lama and this little boy and the little boy's mom. And so we wanted to take great care to not answer in any way that wouldn't be what he genuinely would say to a question or how he would respond. So I drew a lot on the book that would become the Dalai Lama Book of Quotes. And I think, as you'll see, there's a way for us to reference his quotes directly, things he said, and also still tell a fun story. So here we go. I actually brought some tea with me too, because it's going to be a little bit of a read. But let's dive in. So here's a quote to open us up. And here's that squirrel I was talking about, right over here on the fence. So you'll see the squirrel throughout the book. It's fun to find out where he's at. So the Dalai Lama said, "In children, we find what is natural to be human character. I often feel there's more truthfulness in a small child, and I find reasons to have confidence in human courage and human nature." So the day opens up with the little boy and his mom. And there's a squirrel outside. "One morning, my mom asked me, if you could spend the day with any person in the world, who would it be, and what would you do together?" And I thought for a while, and when I figured out my answer, I told her, the Dalai Lama. "What would you do together?" she asked me. "Lots of things," I said. To start our day, we would go to my favorite place for breakfast, and we would eat pancakes and drink chocolate milk. I love her illustrations, and I love that she took the time to do all these little icons all around the page. Then we would go up in a hot air balloon, and we could see so many things from high up in a hot air balloon. At the time, I was living in Vermont, and Quechee, Vermont has a hot air balloon festival, so that's what we based the picture on. Pretty magical thing that they do every year. When we came back down, we would have a picnic at the park with sandwiches and lemonade. And look who is coming to visit. After the picnic, we would play some sports together, like soccer and flying kites. I'm pretty good, but I would tell him the secret. Anyone can be good if they practice. And then we would go putt-putt golfing. That's one of my favorite things to do. I'm really good at putt-putt too, but it requires a lot of patience. I bet the Dalai Lama would be very patient and funny. I like the squirrel waiting on the other side. After that, we would go get some ice cream, and I wonder what flavor of ice cream the Dalai Lama would choose. The best part of our time together would be talking to him all day. With all of our activities, we would have lots of time to talk. What would you talk about? My mom asked. I told her I have loads of questions to ask him, like, how are you always so happy? She smiled and said, I bet he would tell you it's because he believes in kindness and loving other people. He has said, if you want people around you to be happy, practice compassion. And if you want to be happy, practice compassion. I told my mom I would also ask, what do you do when someone tries to take your lunch money? She laughed and asked, what do you think he would say? I thought about it for a bit and said, I bet he would tell me that it's not okay to steal, so you should say no, but you should also be kind, so maybe see if you can help them somehow. What else would you ask him? Mom said. Why does his name, Dalai Lama, sound like llama, the animal? I laughed. Mom laughed too and said, I read that Dalai Lama is actually a title, like president. He's actually the 14th Dalai Lama, which means oceans of wisdom in Mongolian. And she told me the title was given to the very first Dalai Lama over 500 years ago. Wow, I said. So he isn't the first one, I said. I guess I would ask him when he started his job as the Dalai Lama. My mom said, well, let's see. I've read that he was born to a small farming family on July 6th, 1935, and his family lived in a small village that was on a hill looking over a big valley, and they grew barley, buckwheat, and potatoes on their farm. And when he was born, his name was Lamo Thondup. The Dalai Lama had 2 sisters, 4 brothers, a mom, and a dad. And he says he remembers his mother was one of the kindest people he has ever known, and he liked to go into the chicken coop with her to collect eggs and make clucking noises like the hens. And when he was 2 years old, several monks came to visit him from very far away. They had seen many signs that led them right to his house and right to him. Even though the young boy hadn't seen these men before, he knew who they were, and he said their names. And he also knew what they had with them, including many things that belonged to the 13th Dalai Lama. And after lots of questions and spiritual tests, the monks were sure he was the 14th Dalai Lama. When he was chosen, he moved his family to the Potala Palace in Lhasa, the capital city of Tibet. He also got a new name, Tenzin Gyatso. When he was 6 years old, he started school to be a monk, and he studied writing, history, religion, art, philosophy, music, literature, and much more. Just like you, she said, and tickled me. And then, when he was 15 years old, he became the leader of his country. Unfortunately, this was also a very difficult time for Tibet. And for years, he tried to create peace, but China made things very dangerous for the Dalai Lama and his people, so he had to run away. In 1959, when he was just 24, the Dalai Lama left Tibet with tens of thousands of other Tibetans and went across the Himalayas, the tallest mountains in the world. They arrived in Dharamsala, India, where there were lots of people who wanted to help. The Dalai Lama has lived in Dharamsala now for over 50 years, and he travels all around the world. He's won the Nobel Peace Prize. He's written more than 100 books about caring for others, caring for our environment, and how we can all work together to make the world a better place. I have another question, I said. What do you think he would say I should do when someone makes me sad? Well, I know he has said it's important not to let our happiness be disturbed by others. We can love and care about others and not worry too much about how they treat us. But we also should be around people who love us and show us compassion. I also wonder, what does he do every day? I asked. Well, I read in a magazine that the Dalai Lama wakes up every morning very early and he meditates for a few hours. And then he eats breakfast, goes for a walk, and does yoga. And then he listens to the news. He meditates again for a few hours, and then studies important books, and he has lunch. And in the afternoon, he goes to his office, and he meets with people from all around the world. And in the evening, he has tea, does his final meditation for the day, and usually goes to sleep around 7 p.m. In pictures and on television, I always see him laughing. I would ask him what makes him laugh and be so fun all the time. Well, one of my favorite quotes of his, my mom told me, is that the very purpose of life is to be happy. Do you think that's true? She asked me, and I nodded yes. She continued, he has also said that growing up, he was told that it's good for you to have very big laughs and that it's very healthy for your body. Often a simple smile is all it takes to get started helping someone else be happy. And if you smile at others, it's a great way to inspire others to smile too. I love smiles, don't you? My most important question might be, I told my mom, what can I do to be more like you? My mom smiled. That's such a sweet question. I know he would love that. I bet he would tell you that the most important thing in the world is for you to be yourself. If you try to improve yourself, that can help your friends and family, and then eventually that can help the world. And when you are more friendly, caring, and understanding, and try to help others in little ways every day, you will be just like the Dalai Lama in your own special way. I'll just take a moment to say that I think this is a very special moment here, that the boy is realizing that his mom is like the Dalai Lama in her own special way. When I finally finished telling my mom all about who I would love to spend the day with, I was very excited, but then I got a little sad. I realized that it is a big dream and probably can't come true. I saw tears in my mom's eyes and I realized she wants to do these things with the Dalai Lama too. I gave her a big hug and I said, "Don't worry, Mom, I have an idea." Until the Dalai Lama comes, we can practice our dream day together. I jumped up in my seat at the kitchen table. Do you want to start with pancakes? The end. So, in the end, the little boy and his mom got to spend the day and the weeks and the months ahead doing all the things that he wanted to do with the Dalai Lama. And he also got to realize that the mom right next to him is just as important as the Dalai Lama. Here's a quote that I ended with from him. Nearly all of us receive our first lessons in peaceful living from our mothers, because the need for love lies at the very foundation of human existence, and from the earliest stages of our growth, we are completely dependent on our mother's care, and it's very important for us that she expresses her love. If children do not receive proper affection in later life, they will find it hard to love others. I loved writing this book. I loved the fact that my sister was so kind and generous with her time and her skill and talent to illustrate it. And I love that as I think about the book and what it means, it's both a reflection on the Dalai Lama himself and the idea that we might want to spend the day with someone like him, but the reality that we have a really special people all around us, starting with our mothers and our fathers, who show us what it's like to love and to care for others. And thanks for taking the time to listen to this book. It is available, so you can always take it to illustrate it and write your name in it. And I'm excited that Dalai put his name in it today. I'm excited to color it with him soon. And I'm really glad that we got to spend some time looking at it together. So thanks a lot.